Hello, it's Michael here, and today I'm going to be doing a tutorial in UE4 on how to do multiple saves using the save data function in Blueprints. For this particular example, I'm going to be showing you how to do regarding doors and being able to save their open and close state, obviously when you exit out the game and obviously relaunch. This sort of concept can be applied to other things that you may find in the game world, such as chests or pickups and so forth. So in front of me here I've just placed a blueprint of a door that I've created that obviously opens and closes, so I'll quickly show you that. So you walk up to the door, press E, opens, so press it again, it closes. Probably noticed here that some of the doors were actually already open. The reason why is because it saves its state. So obviously if I close that and reopen, obviously the doors are all in the same position they were when I closed out. Okay then, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly load up Blueprint, quickly show you stuff that's happening in there. Okay, so like I said, it's a pretty simple door. So you've got the door frame, the actual door itself, and then a trigger. Obviously all this stuff here is just to physically get the door to open and close. Okay, so I've just opened up the event graph, and at the moment it's opened up in the construction script. Okay, so what we've got here is a branch with a variable attached to it, a bool. So if it's true or false, it'll do the corresponding sort of event. And all it's doing here is setting the rotation of the door. So the reason why this works is based upon the pivot point of the door being in the corner. Okay, so yes, this variable here was one I created. Just put here, so door open. Just create one, new variable, give it a name and so forth. Let's delete that. So this variable in itself is editable, which means that whenever I place it in the scene, just quickly bring this panel in over here. The variable becomes an option on the right hand side, so you can actually choose whether or not the door is open. Having this variable here is actually quite important, as it's the actual sort of bit that we'll be saving regarding whether or not the door is actually open or closed. The advantage of doing it like this as well also means that when you place something for the door in the game, you can choose whether or not it starts open or closed, which is obviously quite useful. Okay then, so let's get the door back open. And also this is literally everything that's in the construction script, and that's purely there just so if you place the door in the level, you can choose whether or not if the door is open or closed. Regarding these two variables here, these open and closed, open rotation and close rotation, these are just something I've set in here, so in the defaults. It turns out that obviously for the open angle, it happens that the yaw is on -90, and obviously when it's closed it's just all 0. Okay then, so now I'm going to jump over to the event graph. For a lot of you may be a little bit confused and so forth. So this is the setup for the door itself. This is for the trigger that enables the input, so the door can receive the input from the player controller, which is quite important, because that then allows this node here to actually get fired. So what we have coming from here is that variable again, that door open, which is obviously quite important. Going to a branch, this just determines whether or not the door opens or closes. We use a timeline here, and it's a variable that's defined inside it over here to actually set the rotation of the door based on the closed rotation and open rotation. On the finish we then have an event here called update save data. This is an event that I've created myself, so I'll go into this shortly in a moment. We also have something else here that says update initial driver time, which also I'll go through again in a moment. Like I said, it's just a custom event, and I'll show you where to actually trigger that, and sort of explain what that's for in a moment as well. Okay, So the first thing we need to sort of go over really is what is save data. Well, obviously it's bits of information that gets saved. You give it a variable name, and obviously the corresponding information you want to get saved. So how do we actually go about creating this saved data, as it were? If you open up the content browser, you can create a new blueprint, and if in the custom classes you type in save game, you should get an option that says save game, and that's to click on. Obviously I've already created one, and mine's called door save data. So you just click that, and that's how you actually create some saved data. So I'm just going to load up the one that I've already created. You're probably sort of wondering what does this blueprint actually do? Well, all it does is it defines variables that you want to save. Obviously on the left here I've got a door location, _s, and a door open. I'll explain what I use a door location for in a moment, but the door open sort of variable is an array. So what this means is I can then get the array from all of the doors that I have throughout the level and save them in the array. The door location itself, this variable, is used to define which array index you save the corresponding sort of information to. It may make a little bit more sense once I actually sort of show you some of the actual blueprint nodes and sort of explain sort of the flow of it. So obviously once if you ever want to do anything with saving, obviously the first thing you need to do is obviously create some form of save data blueprint, and you need to obviously highlight or add any variables that you want to be saving. And once you've done that and you've saved and compiled, obviously you can close that, 'cause you probably won't need it again. Okay. So the next section we've got here is these two blocks here that I've obviously commented out. So we've got the set door state based on saved data, and then we have the update saved data as well. So if you come back up here, this update saved data, that is an event that calls this custom event here. So they're quite simple to make. Just right click, add event, and custom event. You give it a name. I'm just going to leave this at custom event 1 for now. And obviously if you right click again and go into the call function, it should then appear as an event you can actually fire. So whenever this gets fired, it will then trigger this node here. Okay, so I'll just quickly delete those. So the next thing I want to sort of talk about in itself is physically loading the data. In the door blueprint itself, I do have 4 variables here. One called door save data, which is one we're interested in at the moment. So I'll explain these 3 in a moment. So I've got door save data here. And what this is, it is a save game variable. So what this is going to do is it's going to be used as a means of storing our reference to our blueprint we created here, the door save data. Okay, get that back open. Okay, so obviously what we can do is if we go to our nodes and type in save game, we get a few options. Obviously ignoring the events that I've got set up here. So we have create save game object, does save game exist, and save game slots. In a lot of cases, especially if it's the first time you're running a game, you would want to create a save game object, which is what this lovely node here does. Also from the drop down, you can then select the type of blueprint you want to select from, and what that will do is it will also return the value here, and then you'd want to set your save data variable to that. All this does, it just means that you can then obviously call this variable whenever you need to without having to constantly create a new save game object. Okay, obviously some of the other sort of variables we have there is does save game exist and save game slot. You're probably looking at this at the moment and you're probably a little bit confused with the slot names, because both of these have a slot name. So this is where this comes in here. Obviously at the moment our save slot here, I believe, is empty. It doesn't actually have anything listed. The reason why is because we actually set this in our level blueprint, which I'll show you in a moment. It's actually where we use most of these blueprints, so these nodes themselves. What the slot name actually is, it's the name of the file that's actually located on the user's machine. So, for example, say if we wanted to say the doors, we'd call this saved doors. Obviously, all the saved data, they all get saved in the same spots. So what this particular node here does, looks at that particular location and tries to find a file with that name, obviously of the corresponding saved data type. If it finds one, obviously this here will become true. If not, it'll be false. Obviously, using this information, you then decide whether or not you want to load any saved data or create a new set of data. Obviously, using this. Obviously, the save game to slots, what that does is using your saved data here, which is like your list of variables that you change, you then physically tell it you want to save this information to that slot. And the other one that currently isn't listed here is the load game from slot. So this does exactly the same thing, or similar thing to the save game, except in the reverse order. So you give it a slot name, and then it will pull all that information and save it to a game slot like this. Okay, so if you bear with me, I'm just going to quickly load up the level blueprint and quickly show you that sort of setup in here. Okay, then, so straight off the bat, also I've got some variables in here. So I've got the door saved data level. This in itself is another saved game. What this is used for, it's used to set the overall sort of saved data game variable. The reason why is because if we was to place a load game from slot node in the door blueprint, whenever we place a new door in the level, they'll all each have their own reference to the door saved data, which obviously we don't want. We want them all to be using the same information. So obviously with that in mind, we obviously set that in here. We then also have the door arrays, which I'll talk about in a moment, level slots, and then new variable which don't actually need, so I'll quickly delete that. Okay then, so obviously from the event begin play, the first thing we do is we look to see whether or not there's any saved data in the given slot name. At the moment it's called slots L1. Okay, so it's just looking for that file that's got that particular name, slot L1. Unfortunately I'm not able to physically show you in the level blueprint, so unfortunately we don't have a default. However, it then comes straight into a branch and obviously returns a value, true or false, because it's the corresponding location. If a saved game doesn't exist, it will then actually create one, and then obviously save it to that door saved data level. If one does exist, it then loads that information from the given slot, and then sets the saved game data to our variable that we want to save it to. So what we have now, now have all that saved data in this one variable here, that's just ready to be used. What we then want to do is obviously reference every single door that we have in our level. For this, there is a node that's called get all actor, so all actors of class. So in the actor class, I've actually defined the door swing, and what this will do is it'll create an array listing all the actors of that given actor type. So obviously every time I place, regardless of how many doors I'm going to add into level, they'll always end up in this level here, which we then set to our doors array, just in case I ever need to use it at a later date. Obviously the overall goal of this is we're wanting to send our door saved data level to each and every door, so they've all got the same reference. And the way I've gone about doing this is using a for each loop with the array. Okay, and what this for each loop does is it takes every object inside the array and executes something on the loop body. And the array element changes for each loop based on the next one in the array. And so what we're actually doing here then is using a cast2. This node itself is actually quite useful. So what you do is from any sort of object variable, you can just type in cast2. It'll list every single sort of class or blueprint you can cast to. But in this particular case, because we know that this doors array is going to be obviously our door blueprint, so we want to find our door. So in this case, it's door swing. Obviously, you can tell whether or not you got the right one because it does actually say at the top cast2 and then obviously the name of the blueprint you're casting to. And what this actually does is it allows you to set or pull information from the blueprint. It doesn't allow you to execute any functions. That's used doing blueprint interfaces, which is obviously something else. But this is a good way of using the cast2 can be a good way of sending data from one blueprint to another, or and vice versa. So what we're actually doing here is for each of the doors we are setting the door save data and the save slot. So the way we actually get these nodes here is we need to physically drag away from this dot at the bottom here. And if you type in set, it will actually allow you to set any of the variables that are in that particular blueprint. You can also use the get and obviously get those variables as well, which can be quite useful. So I use get save data, obviously it's like a little node, and I can use that for something else within the blueprint. Obviously in this particular example I have literally gone to set, and what that will do is to make a set node with an actual target, which is obviously quite important. So obviously that way we're getting the variable that's in there rather than anything that's in our level at the moment. Okay, and obviously that's exactly the same thing with the save slot. And the variables I'm actually passing to each door is the door save data level, which is this one here, which we set at the very beginning here using these nodes here, and the level slot variable that we've got over here. Let's try and get that in view for you. Oh, very squashed. Okay, so scroll down. Obviously, you can set that value. It's still not on the screen. There we go. So yes, obviously in the level blueprint, because you don't have the defaults tab, you have to select it or change the variables down the bottom in this details tab. So you can select the level blueprint and change the level, so the name. The great thing about the level slot and doing it this way is you could possibly get it to change depending upon the level. So all you'd need to do is copy all this from one level into another and just change the level slot name, and then all the doors will work and save their data for your new level that you've got set. Just bear with me, I'm just going to quickly adjust this again. Okay then, so obviously with that done, we've now obviously sent these two bits of information to each reference of the door that we have in the level. Okay, so let's go back to the door swing now. And sort of explain sort of what's going off in here. First thing I'm going to start with here is the event begin play. So obviously, as soon as the game starts, all this is going to fire. The first thing that comes across here is a set save ref, which is a variable, an event that I've created myself. Oh, sorry, a function I've created myself, which is up here. Just come here, so yeah, comes from the event begin play into there, which means everything inside this particular function obviously then gets fired as well. The first thing we do here is there's an is valid node, and all this node does is tells you whether or not this actually has something in it. If it does, it's valid, so we want to go to the cast2. If it's not valid, we don't want to do anything. So this cast2 in itself is also quite important, because this time we're actually casting to door save data, which was the variable that we received from the level. Well, you have to remember that every single door now has exactly the same reference. So if the door save data is the same in every single instance of the blueprint, which is the reason why we did it in the door to make sure that happens. So this cast2 here obviously is referencing the door underscore save data, which was the blueprint we made here for that save data. Back into place. And the next step we then do from here is we physically get that data from the save data. Obviously pull away and then get. So you've got the door locations and then the door open. We then actually save those to our door location save ref and door open save ref. And also these are two variables I've created here, and that's what they're for. The reason why these variables, the reason why I've created these variables and physically set them to what's in this data is because we can't. It's very difficult to set an array element using this. For example, if I was to go element, set array element, it doesn't actually output. There's no output feature for the array. And unfortunately, setting the array element, it's like a set. So even though I've done a set array element, it's not actually pushed it back to the save data variable using this particular node. So unfortunately, what we do need to do is obviously do something slightly different, which obviously we'll go through in a moment. So to begin with, we'll just literally get a reference of those two sort of variables from our save data. And also I made that a function because it does appear over here as well in the update save data. Okay, so from here we then go into a branch, and what this branch is doing is it's checking that door location save ref variable that we've just sort of populated with what's in the save data to see whether or not it actually contains the location of the door. Obviously, if the answer is true, what it then does, it comes from here. If the answer is true, it then obviously sets the door open variable. So obviously that's this one here, which is the same one we use in the construction script and go out determining whether or not the door is open. So the way we actually get the that particular variable is by using the obviously door's location. So we use the door location ref, save ref and then find the index of the actor's location. So for example, say if the door's location was in slot 10, so this number here would be index 10. So what we then do is we then get the 10th index of the door open save ref, which obviously was retrieved from that save data, and we just set the door open to that. If the door location save ref doesn't contain the door's location, we then add it. So what we do is we add it to the door location save reference, and obviously add the access location here. And obviously that then comes along with an index. What comes out with an index? So what we then do is then set the index of the door open save reference with the current state of the door. So obviously if you have a door in the level and you set it to be open initially, it will save the door location as being open to start with. That's what that's there for. What we then do is we then have a save to slot, and this is another function that I've created, so I'll quickly go into that. And what this is doing is physically saving back to that save data class. So we've got obviously our save data variable here, obviously casting to it, and then we've come off of the blue dot and we've gone onto the set. And what we're actually setting here is that door location save reference. So see, just like that. And we're doing that for both the door's location and the whether or not the door's open. So if we straight through, so it's the door's location, back to our reference, and so forth. And then the last and final node is the save game to slot. So this is where we physically save our save game data and actually save it onto the user's machine at the given slot name, which is also the save slot which we've used the variable for. Okay. So yeah, so obviously that's physically safe if we've had to add an object to these save references. Obviously, if you first dragged a door into the level for the first time, and obviously you want to update whether or not it's actually you want to save its initial save data. From there, it then comes in and obviously does a door open sort of branch, yes or no, or true false, and obviously physically sets the door's location, so it's whether it's open or closed. So obviously it comes through here and obviously does all the trickery. And then once it's done that, it then goes into the update initial driver time, which is the remote event that we have over here. I spoke about earlier. All this is doing is setting the time of this variable here within the timeline to either 0 seconds or 0.5, because depending on whether or not the door is open or closed, we want it to either start at the end or the beginning. If we don't do that, when you're playing through the sequences for the first time, it can sort of jump and snap quite abruptly. So that's only there just to sort of make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. So the next thing we actually need to sort of talk about is sort of actually saving the door state once it's been changed. So at the moment, this sort of section here, all of this, all it's doing is setting its initial state or loading it from the saved data. What we actually need to do now is actually set the variable when it's actually changed. So the way the way I've gone about doing this is from the timeline, from the finished. So as soon as it's finished playing, and that gets fired when it's reversed or played. So as soon as it's stopped moving, it still fire this update save data, which, as I mentioned earlier, is this custom event here. So it's going to fire this. So straight off of that, it's going to obviously get a reference to the save data from the saved game variable. So this is going to get a fresh set of information. So in case it's changed, it's going to update it. So we've got the latest version. We then come through there, from it, shall I say, into a set array element. And obviously we use the door location ref and the location to find the index that we need to look for within the door. So open save ref. So we actually set that variable, set that index to the variable of whether or not our door's open, which automatically gets changed as we open and close it, coming from the branch. So obviously the door's open, it's then going to set the door open to false, because obviously it's closing it, and vice versa. Once we then set that array element for the door, we then fire this save to slot again, which obviously then comes through all this and obviously physically sets that saved game data and saves it to the user's hard drive. And that in itself is pretty much how you would set something up like a door to automatically save just by placing one within a level. Okay, so for example, if I were to select all these, bear with me, select. So if I was to select all these and then move them forward one, and press play, they should all start closed, well, majority of them. I'll see if this one's open. Okay, like so. Okay, if I then close out and play again, so now all closed as should be. However, because it's based on the location of, so I've got my snaps on, if I move it back up 100, which that's what it's set to, it then goes back into the same place that it was previously. There's obviously it's then pulling that saved data. Obviously all the doors are sort of fully functional, go through and open them, quite happily just pull more from the content browser. Okay, let's minimize this. Okay, and these will all function the same way. So close out and play again. So the door's now open, saved as open. So yes, that's how you one possible method of going through and doing save data with sort of save game sort of functions within UE4. So I hope you found this sort of tutorial. I know it was more of a show you what I've done sort of thing, but unfortunately this took me a couple of hours to figure out, and don't think spending several hours sort of recording this would be very fun to watch. So yeah, so that's how you sort of go about doing something like that. Obviously, if you wanted to add obviously another type of object that you want to save, you would set it up in a very similar way within inside the blueprint itself. Obviously, you may want to change what you use to actually find information. Obviously, this door location is a constant. Obviously, once you place a door, chances are once you play the game, it's never going to move. So it's going to be a good reference point to obviously retrieve information to determine which one you should be using. But obviously, if you're wanting to add other types of objects, in the level blueprint, we would pretty much copy this a couple of times. I'm just looking for different saved, for different slot names, and then obviously applying them to different act classes. So yeah, so that's how you can go about doing multiple sort of save game actors within a level. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and thanks for watching.